Welcome to the Savvy Leader Podcast. Real conversations about the grit, grace, and gratitude it takes to be the savvy leader you were always meant to be. Thanks so much for joining us for this next episode of the Savvy Leader Podcast. Today, I'm really looking forward to an in-depth conversation with Ioana Chei. She is a certified mindset coach and a licensed psychotherapist in the country of Romania. And I am really intrigued to learn about her journey, what caused her to want to move from being an employed therapist into owning her own business and her own practice and delving into more mindset coaching. I just think it's a fascinating subject and I cannot wait to hear her insights today. Ioana, thank you so much for being here. I'm looking forward to this and I'm just grateful that you're willing to have this conversation with me today.
Kristen, thank you so much for having me. It's a pleasure to be here, and I'm so excited.
Good, 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 good. So, to start us off, let's hear a little bit about your story. So, the Savvy Leader podcast attracts a lot of people that are self-employed, and there's always that big step from being someone who's employed into entering, your own self-employment or opening a practice like you did or owning a business. Talk to us a little bit about where you came from and why you made the big leap into running your own business and your own practice.
That is a long story. I'll try to keep it as short as possible.
Take as much
Um,
time as you need. It's whatever you need. Don't worry.
I worked in a public school. It was a public special needs school, and I was a teacher there for several years. And I loved the children there. I loved working with children ever since I've known myself. But somehow I felt like I can make a bigger impact in their lives, in their parents' lives. And that dream just came bigger and bigger and bigger. And at some point, when I had my own kid, I said, this is the moment to shift, to go from teaching to opening my own practice. And Kristen, this was a moment when it was a matter of how much money can I take from my household for me to open this practice and start. And it was in the beginning, I saw it as a hobby, something for myself, right? Because it gave me meaning and purpose, and it just filled my heart. But that was the mindset that it's a hobby that I'm trying out. And that's how my practice worked until I shifted that. Because I even remember a session with a coach that asked me, what are you doing for yourself? And I said, well, I go to my practice. And he was genuinely shocked. I could see it on his face. And that's when I realized this isn't a hobby. This is my work. And that shift happened, and I started seeing it as my work. And then I started growing and reaching a point where I had a lot of one-on-one clients, and I was unable to say no to the people that kept coming in. And even though I had that mindset shift of from hobby to work, I was still in this mindset. As a psychotherapist, it's your purpose to be there in service to others. So I didn't look at my work as a business. And That's why I didn't look at the numbers. I didn't look at a lot of important things. And actually, that was a pivotal moment where I met coaching again, um, because I needed support and see how can I change this for my sake and for my client's sake. Because if I get into burnout, no one benefits from it. And that's how I met coaching. I had the most wonderful coaches. So I fell in love with coaching. And I discovered mindset and a new perspective on everything that goes into our mind. So in short, this is my story.
Oh my gosh,
That's how
that's
I got here. Yeah.
so inspiring. And I love that. I mean, you articulated it so perfectly too. It was this actual timeline of, look, this is what I was doing. And then I started, making this shift. And then all of a sudden, my side hustle became my full-time gig. And just the realization of, my practice was my life. And so many of us, when we have a dream and when we have a vision that we want to start a business, it starts out as a side gig and something we never, it's like maybe someday, or maybe it's not even in our mind because we're just so busy with maybe our full-time gig. And then we do this. This is our hobby, so it's our passion. But now you got to turn your passion not only into your primary, but you also found mindset within that and coaching on mindset shifts. Is there or was there a pivotal time during the course of that journey when the light bulb went off, or were there things that your coaches taught you that you were just, was there anything that made that major shift for you in those conversations in the beginning?
Yeah. A lot. And I had the impression on myself that I did therapy. I'm a therapist, so pretty much the work is done, right? And when I met them, they started showing me all these blind spots that I had. They were not pretty, but I realized that there's so much more work. I knew there's a lot of work, but that was a mirror that I then was ready to look into and say, whoa, this is a whole new world. And I get to learn so much about myself. And for the first time, I saw that there are endless possibilities for how I can use my skills. And I rediscovered sides of me that I lost as a child or as a teenager. So I rediscovered them, and all of a sudden, huh, I started I started shifting little by little and seeing all the wonderful things that I can do. Because I was stuck a lot in I can't do that because I can do the other thing because, and that's really not true. I could do all those things.
Oh my gosh, that's so great. When you think about that, like I love that you mentioned things that you lost about yourself at some point. Now that you know everything you know, can you look back on those times and recognize when you lost those pieces of yourself along the way, or was it just kind of a gradual thing?
With some of them, I think it was gradual, but some of them I can specifically say when it happened and what were the things that just put a blanket on those sides of me. Yeah.
Interesting. And I gotta believe then once you identified those times in your life, those experiences and different situations that caused you to lose that part. And now here you are so many years later trying to get that back again. Does it take a lot of work? Is there a lot of like inner work, or once you discovered it, did it become easy? Is the hard part in the discovering when you lost it, or is it in the work that has to be done once you realize where it was lost?
It's both. It's both. I can't pick one because they're both so important. You can have insights and you cannot move forward without the insights and the awareness. But if you just have the awareness and the insights and you don't make the decision to use all that and to take action, then it's just information that you have and you put in a drawer and it stays there. So they're both equally important.
So interesting. Um, so interesting. And was it that part of your journey that caused you to want to focus on mindset coaching, or was it something else that helped you to make that specific determination?
Um, it was all of it. It was the sides of me that I rediscovered. It was the questions that I started asking myself and other people. It was everything that I started seeing differently from the people around me to myself. You know, I didn't consider myself, for example, a very a fitness gal. I wasn't into sports as much as a kid. And now I can actually say that out loud that I love sports and fitness. And that's who I am. But it took a big shift to see myself that way.
I love that. I love that so much. I talk with lots of our guests. And sports and fitness comes into play often during our conversations. But you touched on something else a moment ago when you were describing your journey. You talked about specifically how much money can I remove from my household to make this work? And I think that's literally the million-dollar question. How do we go from shifting from being employed into opening a practice like yourself because we have this passion? Was there a process that you went through to kind of better determine how to evaluate that? Or was it a gradual shift where you worked a little bit less for a company and then you moved a little bit more into your own practice? Or how did you determine that? Or did you just save up a bunch of dough before you left?
Oh, I gotta say that I'm very tolerant with risk. So maybe that's not something that a lot of people would do, but I just resigned. And I said, for a while, we will handle things without my paycheck. And it wasn't easy. We had a 1.5-year old, so a lot of expenses. And of course, my husband worked, so we had his paycheck, and that did give me some sort of relief, right? I wouldn't have been able to do that if it weren't for his paycheck. But yeah, that was the thought. How much money can I take from our house, from our household, and put it into this work? And we I worked with kids, so I needed some materials. I had some toys from my kid, so it wasn't just money. It were all sorts of things that I took from my house, and I used them to open up the practice. And I did have the support of my partner. There were two of us that started the practice, so that helped a lot because we supported each other emotionally and with the expenses of the practice.
Hmm.
That
That's
was my
great.
journey.
That's an important something to touch on too. So I was a couple of things I was thinking about while you were sharing more of your story was so is there, when you're thinking about mindset coaching, are you still working with kids or are you working with adults too?
I work mainly with adults now, but I do
Okay.
have children in my psychotherapy practice.
Okay. Now you talked about how you have such a high tolerance for risk, and I think that that's so important for anyone looking to venture out into self-employment or to buy a business or to do anything like that on their own. Um, is that something that you actually are able to coach on now with some of your clients, or do you have a specific specialty that you like to focus on, or are you pretty broad in your practice?
Uh, I would say I'm pretty broad, but the thing is, now that you mentioned it, uh, it's similar to my story, right? It's people that have dreams and get stuck in that fear of leaping, of making the steps necessary to fulfill their dreams. So, yes, I do coach people on making bold decisions and making bold steps toward what they want. And it's a lot of it, it's a matter of how we handle our emotions when they come in. Our emotions, our thoughts, our beliefs about ourselves and about the world around us, right? So that can be coached. It's not something that you are born with, that can be coached. And I don't think I was born with a high risk tolerance, but that's how I grew up, I think. Even though my family wasn't necessarily, they weren't risk takers, they had steady jobs, but I think at some point they did show me that you can handle anything that comes up.
So interesting, of course, the influences in your life, though they had, they weren't big risk takers per se, or you didn't live through that with them. They did teach you about perseverance and moving forward, and your deep passions helped you to want to take that risk. That's so great. When you have conversations with your clients, um, is it, in my mind, I'm envisioning good days and bad days. Like, I got to think that, it's a bit of a roller coaster when you're working with someone looking at taking big risks. Can you talk a little bit about some of your experiences you've had with conversations with your clients at all?
Of course, on big risks, yeah, there's always that fear that comes up. It's it can be big sometimes. And I did encounter situations when the client would come and say, you know what, I can't do this. I'm not going to do this. uh, and of course, I don't advise my clients. I'm a coach. I coach them. But I never direct them to take that risky leap, right? As I did, because we're different people. And some of them need plans, specific plans, as you said, put some money aside, um, have the side hustle and the job until the side hustle grows, and so on. So we do work on their plans, and it's important for them to be grounded and to be able to manage those emotions that show up. And sometimes for some of them, they're really big. So they need a plan B to support the first plan. Okay, let's see what we can adjust. And there are days when they come and say, yeah, I want to do it. And days when they say, no, something happened and I lost confidence. And we take it from there.
Um, Thinking about that, how do you like being the person, giving the coaching and not going through that roller coaster of emotions? Do you find that you struggle with keeping your own energy high? Or I feel like it would be kind of difficult to go from one client to a next when you're looking at, just working through challenges with them. Does it pull energy from you, or do you have something that you do to protect your energy while you're working with others in that way?
Ah, that was also um, a period of learning how to do that because, especially in the beginning, it was really hard. And as a psychotherapist, there's a lot of heavy things that show up, and it can be overwhelming. And it needs our energy needs to be protected. So, first thing is having my own coach or my own therapist, depending on what I'm experiencing in a certain period of time. So I work my own triggers, my own beliefs, my own emotions with someone else supporting me because we many times need support, right? And it's okay to need support. And also, I always keep in mind that I am not my work, which is very important. Um, and I'm more than my work. So I have me time, I have hobbies that give me energy. And of course, I have little practices that help me between the sessions when I feel a session was too heavy. If I have time, I go have some fresh air and have a little walk. If not, I can just be in my office and have a little shake of everything that I received as energy. So I do use my body a lot because that's where it's all imprinted and we need to release it through our body.
I love that. So you rely on your body, and then you also talked about, how fitness has become a bigger part of your life, and you like sports and exercise in that way. Did sports become a hobby for you, or did fitness become one of your hobbies?
Yeah, it's one of my main hobbies.
Oh, really?
And
Okay.
yes, it's actually, it became part of my life, not for physical purposes, but for mental health purposes. So I started going to the gym and to yoga and Pilates when I was really down and it was really heavy mentally for me. And ever since I kept doing it, and it's like a shower for me, right? Whenever I need it, it's there.
Interesting. How does that work then? So, how does fitness help you feel better? I mean, aside from the physical benefits, how does that help with your mindset shift? I'm curious about that.
It does help with the chemicals in the brain. So moving our body always improves our mental state and our emotional state. And also, it gives you space to release all the emotion that is in our body. When we feel angry, we need to release it physically, right? Um, Most of us repress it and we think we're not angry, but it comes up one way or another. It will come out. And it's better to have it come out in a run and maybe you shout at a tree forest instead of shouting at your child at home, right? So all those emotions, they just get released out of our body and our mind, and it's so good.
That's so great. I love that. I've never really thought about it that way, but thinking about that chemical imbalance and how that physical activity can help your mindset shift from feeling down to just a little bit higher energy. Now, as a psychotherapist, are these things that you learned during, that while you were practicing psychotherapy more than mindset coaching? Is that, and obviously they play really great together. But share a little bit about how you're able to use your training to better your clients now with their mindset.
Yeah, these are things that I did learn while training to be a psychotherapist. And sometimes you forget what you learn, and you need another psychotherapist to tell you, here's what you learned, now go practice it. And they do go well together. And I feel like it's the perfect blend, at least for me and for my clients, because um, they, I feel like psychotherapy gives me that holding the space and the emotions and the heavy in a client. And then there's mindset coaching that, moves. Okay, we heard this hurting side, and now let's move, right? And they complete each other so well.
Okay, so and you in your work you also talk about identity shifts and nervous system regulations. So, t share with us a little, let's go a little deeper with that in thinking about identity shifts, which probably relates to when you talked about, the parts of you that you had lost from long ago and finding that identity again. But then also nervous system regulation. What exactly does that mean, and how does that impact a person's mindset?
Hmm. And when we talk about nervous system, we talk about um, that green zone when you're functional and you're energetic and you work properly, you have a grounded state, you're happy, right? But the nervous system can be dysregulated. And then you can be in that agitated state and you can think clearly and you feel like nothing works and you're anxious, or you can feel helpless and you have no energy and you feel like there's no way out. And that's also a dysregulated nervous system. So what we want is to regulate it so it comes back to the green zone, right? So you can function properly, so you can take wise decisions, so you can see clearly and not through the lens of anxiety and panic and lack of energy. That's
So,
what I mean about when I talk about that.
can you give us an idea of what that might look like, trying to get yourself and your nervous system back into the green zone? And what does that process look like? Is it lengthy?
Uh, No, it's actually, you can practice, and it involves the body a lot because our body is where everything happens. We think that we just need to go to the doctor to take care of the body, but that's not quite true. um, our body and our mind work together. So um, what happens is that the mind transmits information to the body, but only 20% goes from our mind to our body. From our body to our mind, it's 80%. The information goes from our body to our mind. So we need to regulate our body first, our breathing, right? Our sensations, because our body sends to the brain that it's safe. And, that affirmation, I'm safe and I can rest and I'm okay. Well, you can send it with words, but it's only going to go for 20% of the time. If you send it through the body, then you have better chances of it succeeding.
So interesting and such great insight there. I mean, um, so simple. And yet I think when we're in those states of mind, then it's harder for us to see past, so it's awesome to have someone like you available helping us work through these things and to develop better habits. And um, would that be like a pattern interrupter type of process? Like
Like,
you're interrupting that pattern? Yeah.
well, yeah, you have to discover the pattern first and then
Okay.
interrupt it,
Okay.
and
Okay.
get aware of the arousal in the
Hmm.
body, right? Because
Hmm.
sometimes we're so into tasks that we can't be aware of what happens, and we just realize, oh, I'm not feeling well. But when we are aware of what happens in our body, then we can identify what caused it, and then we can go and work on that. But yeah, once we identify it, we can just say, oh, I'm going to stop here and just go shake my body for a little bit and get grounded, maybe eat some ice cream because it's cold and right, it changes my state.
Wow. So I mean, it's deep work. Like you're thinking, it's not just, this actually takes real intention and commitment to really want to be better and feel better. I mean, I think once people see results, they probably are more apt to you know, shift these behaviors and be a little bit better at doing that. But I think that that is just fascinating. Thank you for shedding some light on just exactly how deep mindset coaching can get. Um, but I'm wondering now too, like we'll shift gears just a little bit. You talked about working with a business partner. Is this someone that you already knew? How did you guys kind of discuss together that you wanted to launch a practice together? Are they in the same type of industry as you with mindset coaching or something similar? Or talk to us a little bit about how that relationship has evolved.
Yeah, she is a psychotherapist. We knew each other from our psychotherapy training. And she came to visit me and meet the baby, my baby, one day. And we started talking about what we dream about and how our practices will look like in years. And then we had this idea, why don't we work together and start personal development groups for kids? Because we both loved working with kids, and um, that was the best idea we had. We were both very enthusiastic. And we did that for a lot of years, like 6, I think. We did that together, and we've grown together and changed our space 3 times, I think. Well, no, twice. We had 3 spaces that we moved from. And now we're still together in the same space, but we don't work together anymore in the same projects. We are just neighbors, office neighbors. But we still advise each other and talk about our businesses and support each other.
Do you feel like the success of your practice has been partly because you went in to a partnership with someone you trusted and knew?
Yes, I I don't have to think about it.
Okay.
It's a yes.
Yeah.
Yes, it was an emotional support. It was mentally, I felt like, I'm not alone. And psychotherapists can be lone wolves because it can get lonely when you have your practice and you have your clients, and then you go home and there's no one to support you, or you don't have a team necessarily. So it can get lonely, but we had each other and that helped a lot. Um, Also, we had each other and then we didn't spread our wings and reach out to other people for support for some time. And started doing that when she left for her maternity leave, and I was really alone. And then I realized I actually need people, and I need colleagues, and I need support, and I need to know someone knows about me and my work and supports it. So I did reach out to other people, and I think relationships and support is so important when running a business of any type.
That's so great. I think knowing that, you kind of picked, sounds like you picked a good partner. You picked someone that you trusted and you guys worked well together. Not only were you you had similar backgrounds and you'd known each other for some time. I think the work that you each did probably complemented each other really well in probably a lot of ways. But having that sounding board and having someone to lean on after, a difficult day or just working through that. How long have you guys been in business now?
From 2017, I think. Yeah,
Good for
that's
you. That's so,
that's for
so
how long.
great. And it sounds like you've had some wonderful growth. Um, In your line of work, what does growth look like? Does that just mean a larger client load? Does it mean you have to bring in supporting help? Or what does that look like in the world of mindset coaching and therapy and all of that?
Well, growth can look a lot of ways, and it definitely looks like more clients in one-on-one sessions. And that's where I reached a point where I said, no, it has to look different. That's when coaching showed up for me and said, let's see how we can see this growth differently. And it can look like I can hold space for groups and be there and hold them in their process, more than one person, right? It can look like projects done with other therapists or coaches, like summits and workshops and conferences and so on. It can look like having employees and having more clients like that, right? One-on-one clients with someone that's employed there, and you get to have that. It all depends on what you want as the practitioner and what your vision is, what your goal is, and who you are and who you want to be.
Yes, it sure does. So, what does the future look like for you? Will you continue with your partnership? Will you venture out on your own and be solo? And what are your future your vision for your future look like?
Um, right now, I am solo. I don't intend to be solo for very long, but because I put coaching in my work, it's quite different, and I needed to adjust a little bit and see how can I blend the two. And for me, the change was also that if 3 years ago I was only working in my office or one-on-one face-to-face, now I'm also moving towards the online space. I moved some of my work online, and yeah, I'm seeing partnerships, and I'm seeing a lot of new clients and new groups, because I do hold workshops, specific topics, and I hold them online and in person. And it's something that energizes me a lot, and I love doing that. So that's how I see
That's
things
so great.
moving forward.
I think that's fantastic. I love that you're moving into the online space. I think that gives you a lot of flexibility, of course, but it just gives you a different perspective, I think, too. It allows for um, a little bit more, you can protect your time a little better when you're not always in the office and face to face, I feel like. Um, do you have any workshops coming up for you in the near future that we can highlight?
Definitely, there will be. They're not ready, but probably in the summer to autumn,
Okay,
probably
awesome.
September, I would say.
Okay. And
Um,
where can we look
it
for those, or how can we find more information on you and anything you might have coming up like that?
You can find me on Instagram. That's the place where I hang out most.
Okay.
I did start a LinkedIn page, but I'm just familiarizing myself with it for now. So
Okay.
maybe not there for the moment. And I will definitely post there anything
Okay.
that I have ready to share with the world.
I think that's just fantastic. Before we wrap it up, I have to ask, is there one piece of advice as a coach and as a psychotherapist, as someone who has been there, done that, is there one piece of advice you would love to give any aspiring leaders out there before they're ready to take a big risk?
Mm, yes. I would say just get comfortable with chaos, because when taking risks, when making change, chaos is a given. And it's it's not a proof that it's wrong. It's not a proof that it's not working. It's a proof that you're growing. And it takes time to have all the pieces fall into their place.
Patience is hard when you're
Yeah.
when you're launching a business or starting a practice or shifting from one thing to the other, but it sounds like your journey has been one that's been really um not simple, but it just feels, listening to your story, it feels so kind of refreshing because I can definitely sense that throughout the process, you were able to manage yourself and your feelings, and you had a good support system around you, and you partnered up with someone that you trust. I mean, there were so many good things there. You took big risks, but you also made sure to protect yourself along the way. Does that sound about right?
Yeah, it sounds exactly how it was. And I think it's also because, when you take risks, you start to open your eyes more and you start seeing the support
Hmm.
that you could get. You
Hmm.
start seeing the partners that you can have. You start seeing all the opportunities and possibilities.
Hmm.
And that's so important. And if you ask just for one piece of advice, but
Hmm.
I feel like giving one more. Just
Sure.
enjoy the journey,
Mm-hmm.
right? The journey is so important. It's not just about the destination, it's about how you get there with
Hmm.
joy and peace. And, yeah, it's chaos along the way, but how do you face the chaos? Because it can be chaos outside and peace inside.
Mm.
And that's what we want.
That's awesome. Thank you so much. Oh my gosh, it's been so wonderful talking with you today. So, Ioana K, your name doesn't, for us in America, it's spelled a little bit differently. So I want to make sure everybody knows how to find you. Ioana K is spelled Ioana, and then her last name Chei, and she can be found on Instagram. And I think that's the perfect place because she's going to be sharing all of her insights, her upcoming workshops, and all of it through that visual platform that all helps us feel so much more refreshed. Again, Ivana, it was so great to see you today and get to know you a little bit better. I can't wait to see what you have coming up and to support you along the way. Thank you.
Thank you so much for having me, Kristen. It was such a pleasure.
Awesome. Okay. Thanks for listening to the Savvy Leader podcast. Be sure to check out the description for any relevant links and additional details that we might have shared throughout this week's episode. And if you're looking to continue this conversation, we'd love to see you over at the Savvy Leaders Lounge on Substack or the Savvy Living Network for additional insights. That's savvylivingnetwork.com. We'll see you there.